Hey guys, Devin75 here. Today I'm bringing you the Maximum Rage Zerker guide that I should have made a week ago, but well, here we are. Finally made the video. Here, first I'm gonna show you a little bit of the endgame bosses, how the build performs, how the character works, stuff like that. Here I'm fighting Elder, but with the Maven influence, so it's a little bit trickier than usually. But once you get your rage up and running, it becomes quite trivial even with the Maven influence. You'll see that the character is actually performing quite well. I'm actually surprised on how well it works. I expected it to, well, to be dying a little bit more than it was, but I managed to get to level 94. I managed to do most of the content. It decimates Delirium, it decimates, well, basically everything that you throw at it. The only thing that I really struggled with was Cirrus Awakening 8, and only because I died once. So you'll see in a second that I killed Awakening 7 Cirrus with no problems, and that's because I didn't die once. So the reason for this is, well, the build works on generating rage, and you need a couple of seconds to generate rage. So when you're fighting something like Cirrus, the first phases are pretty weak, and there's nothing really to do. So the first like 3 phases you do nothing, you collect rage, and that's that. And then comes the end phase, where if you, well, basically die once, you're gonna be a little bit, well, in the gutter. Because once you get back, you're in the worst phase of the fight, and you just need to get that rage back up and running to get the DPS up and running. The problem with Cirrus is that you have, well, 1 or 2 seconds of DPS time, so it's a bit tougher to do that. So yeah, that's why I failed Cirrus Awakening 8, but I assumed that if I didn't die once, that I would manage to do it in first try, just like I did in Awakening 7, that you're gonna see in a couple of seconds. Anyway, regardless of that, yeah, it's really an excellent mapper, excellent bosser, and I'm just gonna leave you with the Cirrus video now, and after that I'm gonna be talking about the build, what you need to do, how to make it, and how it works. And that's that. See you in a couple of minutes.
To warrant all this pain.
I cannot hold this yet.
This city is nothing! Obliteration! Be utterly annihilated! Why resist? Rain of stars! Glorious flame! Pointless!
Death, my heart races. I am alive. You will long for
Everlasting fire!
I felt something.
Okay, so with that out of the way, let's show the character. So first off, I'm gonna show you some defensive stats. These are my resistances. Basically, I'm just capped on everything, and you see I'm a little bit overcapped. That's because I'm counting on the elemental weakness maps to be well overcapped for that, even though I would need a little bit more, but the more the merrier, I suppose. And of course, chaos resistance is minus 60%, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Besides that, I have some block chance. That's probably coming from my dual wielding, and the rest of my defenses are my flesh and stone. which gives you the effect when enemies are close to you, they are all blinded. If they're far away, they deal less damage. Besides that, I also am using cast on damage taken, and with that, steel skin. One more defensive mechanism, I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but first off, let me just show you my weapons a little bit. So the weapons I'm using are Psychotic Axes. Why am I using Psychotic Axes? Because they're implicit, which gives us plus 10 to max rage. So what we're trying to do, obviously, with this build that's called Max Rage Zerker, is trying to cap out our rage as much as possible. So I'm going to list all of the sources of the rage increase. So these are the 2 X's, which increases the rage to 70. Another source is our Ascendancy, which gives plus 10, which is 80. This node gives us plus 10, which is 90. This Conqueror's Efficiency Jewel goes up to 95. This node here is 100. And the last source of rage is the Belt Bear's Girdle, which gives us plus 20 to maximum rage. And this is basically what the build revolves around. Trying to cap out our rage and trying to get that rage as fast as possible. So, without further ado, let me just show you a little bit my gear and my skills. What I'm using as my auras are Precision, and I'm using Pride, Dread Banner, Flesh and Stone, Link to Enlighten. So everything here is basically accuracy, critical strike chance. You need a lot of critical strike chance because you want to be proccing those Blitz Charges. So let me just show you. Blitz Charges, which are generated when you crit. So we're trying to get crit as high as possible. As you can see, every single one of my X's has crit chance, crit multiplier, crit chance, crit multiplier. This one also has mana leech. So mana leech is covered by something like this. Either one of your rare items has your mana leech, or you can take it here by just placing one single node here, and this is going to cap out your mana leech. Another thing worth mentioning is you need non-channeling skills have -9 to total mana cost. It can be -8, I think, as well. So -9 here, and the Conqueror's Efficiency Jewel is going to give you another -9, which is a total of -18, which brings our Chain Hook up to 18 mana cost, which is easily sustainable with the Mana Leech node or the Mana Leech on your item. What I'm using here is also Berserk, of course, and Enduring Cry. So Enduring Cry is really good because you can just use 1 point to make it instant, and it can generate your Enduring Charges, which in combination with your Leap Slam and Endurance Charge on melee stun is going to give you almost 100% uptime on your Endurance Charges. Even though it's just 3 Endurance Charges, it gives you a little bit of help with the resistances and physical damage reduction, which we clearly need. Also, I'm using faster attacks on my Leap Slam, so I can just hop around faster. So this is basically going to be your main form of movement, just jumping really fast. So as you can see, it's really fast even just without rage. But imagine having 120 rage with tripled effects from the Berserker and Ascendancy, and then on top of that also having Blitz Charges, which give more attack speed. You're basically going to be teleporting around the map, which makes movement speed more or less obsolete. Also makes me wonder why I still have this flask. But regardless of that, let's just continue. I'm using my a regular rare helmet, so I just bought this off the PoE trade. It only had this Chain Hook enchant because it generated one rage. I wanted it. And what you can do here is also stack some Fortify as well. So that's the last defensive layer that I was gonna talk about. Basically, you can get increased Fortify effect as well on your helmet. You can also get it on the Anomalous Fortify. As you can see, it gives 4% increased Fortify effect. The helmet can have 25% increased Fortify effect, and we're taking all of the Fortify effect nodes on the tree. So this whole wheel and this whole wheel, as much as possible to get that Fortify as much as, well, as high as possible. This means that we effectively have much more life than it's displayed here. So what my next step would be here is I would have this base, I have my enchant. Next thing I would try to do is I would try to, well, use the Crusader's Exalted Orb and try to get that Fortify effect as well as intelligence and some resist and some life on this helmet, which is going to be quite a bit of a problem, but we have harvest now, so it shouldn't be impossible. But yeah, that takes care of that. Here in my helmet I'm using Impale support, Maim support, so these are just two physical support gems that are supporting the totems, so they can deal a bit more damage, so they can proc Maim to help you a little bit. And why am I using both of them? Well, because you can summon both of them at the same time. If you summon the Protector, you can also summon the Val Ancestral Warchief if you have the Val version ready. So when you're killing monsters in your map, this Val version of the Ancestral Warchief totem is going to fill up, and once you have it up, you can place the Protector and the Val Ancestral Warchief at the same time, which means you're going to be getting both of the buffs of the both totems. And that's basically the biggest use you get out of your totems. You're going to be saving that for map bosses, for conquerors, for Cirrus, and stuff like that. When you want to go all in, you plop two totems down, you activate your Berserk, and you just obliterate everything with something like 13 million DPS, if you have everything set up as I do. That's that. Also, on my amulet I have this anointment, Panopticon, which ties in with the totems, basically. So you get some totem damage here, but the most important part of this one is the 50% increased effect of buffs granted by the active Ancestor totems, which means every time you place both of them, both of these buffs are going to be amplified by 50%, which is going to give you the biggest damage increase out of all the anointments on the tree. And that's why I'm using that one. Of course, you can go for something defensive if you don't think you need more damage, but I don't think I would pass up something like 10% more DPS just for some protection. It's softcore after all. This amulet is this amulet because it has a lot of regeneration, so it has some flat regeneration, it has an implicit for regeneration, it has life, and also it has well, increased physical damage to attacks, adds physical damage to attacks flat. And what more can you ask for? Also, it improves your life flasks, basically doubling their effect. 100% increased life recovery from flasks, that's amazing. So this one I have the increased recovery rate, so it recovers 50% faster, and this that it says 2200 is actually doubled because of the amulet, and that's actually amazing. Moving while bleeding doesn't cause you to take extra damage is also nice, but if you want to, you can just try to get a marble amulet, which will give you the same amount of regeneration, but perhaps much more damage. For my rings, one of the rings needs to be a shaper ring because we're using Assassin's Mark. This is absolutely necessary for decimating bosses. I just bought this one off the market. It only had the Assassin's Mark. It had, of course, it was a coral ring. It had the Assassin's Mark, and it had the cold resistance. What I did, I just crafted life on top of it, and I went to the menagerie and crafted aspect of the cat. Why do you need aspect of the cat? Well, because we're using Farrell's fur, which gives you a lot of life. Aspect of the cat reserves no mana, and every time aspect of the cat switches stances, you will see that we're getting charges. So we're getting frenzy charges, power charges. I took some duration for the frenzy charges as well. So basically frenzy charges are going to be up 100% of the time. As you can see, when it disappears, boom, it's back up. So it's basically up all the time. Permanent frenzy charges because we have this one chest piece. It also gives you a lot of life. It gives you some phasing, because why not? Why wouldn't we have phasing as well? And a free aura. Best chest for this build, definitely. But quite expensive, of course. And in this one we're using the main setup of our skill, which is Chain Hook. And now we get to the rage generation. So, how do we generate rage? We generate rage through Chain Hook. As you can see, it says gain 1 rage if this skill hits an enemy. Every time you hit an enemy, you're going to be getting rage just because you're using Chain Hook. Rage support grants 1 rage on melee hit, so another source of rage generation. Our helmet enchant is +1 rage, 40% chance on hit with Chain Hook. And the last source of rage generation is, of course, the Ascendancy, that gives you gain 1 rage on hit with attacks, no more than once every 0.3 seconds. But that's 4 sources of rage generation, and For 120 rage, you need all 4 of them. So I tried playing without enchant as well. You can go without the enchant. You're not going to feel this enchant. I think this is the weakest source of rage generation on your build. Make sure you have everything else. You can skip this enchant if you want to, but I felt it was a little bit more comfortable when I had it. And the next step, as I said, would be just adding the Fortify effect on the helmet as well, and that would be that. With intelligence, of course. And yeah, that's this ring. I used the aspect of the cat here because it had a lot of space. Usually your Assassin's Mark ring is not going to have a lot of modifiers on top of it, so you can just craft your aspect of the cat here. If you don't have an open suffix, just use Harvest to remove one of these suffixes, and then you can craft on top of it. The other ring is just non-channeling skills have -9 to mana cost, but we covered that already, and just a lot of resistances and a lot of life. Pretty straightforward. The skill gems here are Chain Hook, Rage Support, Brutality, Multi-Strike, Anomalous Fortify because of the Fortify effect, and Impale Support because, of course, we are pure physical. All of the auras I explained, but I didn't explain the boots. So these boots should be Warlord enchanted because you wanted life regeneration, % life regeneration. Your rage effects are tripled, you have 120 rage, you just need to counter that degen somehow, and that's one of the ways. So regeneration on your boots, regeneration on your amulet, and a lot of regeneration on your tree. So you're going to be seeing a lot of regeneration like here, and this one as well. I think this one as well has it. So there's quite a bit of regeneration. Yeah. As for the belt, as I mentioned before, it gives you +20 rage, but more importantly, it also buffs every 10 rage points. So for every 10 rage, you get 6% increased physical damage, which equals to 72% increased physical damage when you're at max rage. But not only that, it gives you some flat physical damage, some life, and nearby enemies are crushed, which means every single enemy that's nearby you, if you have 25 rage and above, is going to have 0 physical damage resistance. So everything is basically super vulnerable to your physical damage. Even if the map has 40% increased physical damage reduction, you're going to ignore that because they are crushed because of your belt. So this is best in slot, definitely. For the gloves, I'm using Tomb Fist. Here's the cast when damage taken setup, as I mentioned earlier, and the jewels are, make sure that one of them is the Murderous Eye jewel, so you can proc Intimidate. Maim is not that important because you're going to generate it with your totems as well. As you can see, they're linked with Maim, and also when you switch stances to Blood, you're automatically maiming everything. So you're getting that bonus damage regardless. So this other jewel can be anything basically. I mean, you can go with the Searching Eye jewel to get that main proc as well, but as I said, it's not important. For mapping especially. The jewels themselves just give you life, resistances, and something positive. So this one has armor and dodge, and this one has some damage, so global crit chance. But the important thing is life and resistances, so you can cap them a little bit more. I found these Tomb Fist with good implicit as well, so I'm getting some extra maximum life here. And yeah, the reason I'm using Psychotic Access is also because you can get a lot more damage compared to the unique weapon combo. The alternative to these ones, if you don't have the money for Psychotic Access, is of course Varunastra and Regal Savagery. It's going to actually give you 5 rage more than this current setup, so it's going to be 125 rage, which is kind of a nice benefit, and you're also going to get free mana on hit from Varunastra. But besides that, there's no additional benefits, as they deal something like 350 DPS, which Psychotic Access can easily out DPS. And yeah, that's the biggest reason I'm using Psychotic Access. As you can see, I also corrupted them for 30% quality for that maximum damage output. And lastly, my Flasks, Eternal Life Flask, Anti-Bleeding, more damage with the Lion's Roar, immunity to Curses Diamond Flask. This one you can replace with anything, you can use this one as well, just make sure it has immunity to freeze. And the Silver Flask, that should basically, you can use the immunity to ignite. I think it was annoying because of the rage. Well, rage gives you a lot of degen, and any additional degen is bad. So immunity to ignite was the logical choice for me. That's that, and let me just show you the jewels. So you already saw the Conqueror's efficiency, gives you maximum rage and minus mana cost to your skills, so this one is important. And the rest of the jewels, this one can be Transcendent Flesh, placed here because it has these strength nodes around, but alternatively you can do something like this. You can just get a decent yellow jewel that has almost the same DPS as Transcendent Flesh. So I got this for something like 5 times less than I would pay Transcendent Flesh, and deemed it was sufficient enough. This one is honestly just a placeholder, so as you can see, if I remove it, it just has a lot of resistances and life. I'm still kept on my resistances, and remember that we're generating endurance charges, so it's going to be even more. What you can do here is of course place the Watcher's Eye. Watcher's Eye that has either the precision modifiers or the pride modifiers would go here. So 2 positive modifiers would be ideal. Just place your Watcher's Eye here, and that's that. And that covers the build, basically. That's that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna try and make more videos. I'm gonna try and make it a weekly thing every Monday. So I'll see you on Monday, I suppose. Thank you again for watching, and bye bye.